Hello, I'm Gemma and this is Non-Fic Books, and it has been absolutely ages since I last filmed a video because I have been really rather sick for the last several months actually and haven't read anything non-fiction. Excuse me. But I've finally finished my first non-fiction book in ages, so I thought I'd do a review for you. And the book in question is If Women Rose Rooted, The Power of the Celtic Woman by Sharon Blackie. And this looks at the sort of women as presented through Celtic myth and how a Celtic identity, for those who actually have a Celtic heritage, can really shape how you feel about the feminine, how the way you live your life can be affected by this, and how it can bring about a new way of approaching life and living. And this book is a sort of, I'm unsure exactly how good it actually is. I think I needed to read this book at this point in my life. So I think for many others this might not be a book that particularly does very much for them, but I think for those who read it at the right time in their life and who really need to hear what it has to say, I think it's an absolutely fabulous book. If, on occasion, a little bit too waffy for me. I don't really have any Celtic heritage. I grew up in the Midlands, I now live in Yorkshire, and I only have an absolutely tiny part of Irish heritage through my dad's side of the family, because his father and their family were Irish, but I never knew them and I've never connected to them. So a lot of the sort of Celtic identity was lost to me throughout this. It's not something I personally relate to, but if you do feel that you have an Irish, Scottish, Cornish, Brittany heritage, anything like that that does particularly link to Celtic heritage, you may well really enjoy this book. Sharon Blackie has lived quite an interesting life, and I think she must be in her 50s or 60s. She's certainly gone through the menopause because that's discussed at one point in this book. But she has lived a very corporate life beginning off, working for tobacco companies and really sort of going down the success route in a very particular way, but didn't really feel that sort of really was how she wanted to live her life. And it took her several cycles of trying to get out of this to realise that she had her own sort of damaging patterns of taking on too much and not allowing the space for things that really gave her life meaning, because she felt she had to be doing something all of the time. And I really enjoyed sort of reading about this woman's life. I'd never heard of her before. I've never seen this book before picking it up, so I didn't really know what to expect from that point of view. Her big passion in life is obviously storytelling, and she really does feel that stories are not just a sort of entertainment, but a way of learning about the world, learning about yourself, and a way of interacting with other people that is sort of quite universal and a way to be understood. And that comes through strongly. That's the side of things I didn't like quite so much, because I am not really very interested in myths and legends and the sort of otherworldish type of beliefs. Historically they're interesting, but they're not something I've ever related to particularly. So the retelling of tales that sort of began each chapter or were involved in the beginning of each chapter to then move on to her point would be fascinating if you are into that, but those are the bits that actually by the end I was sort of skipping through a little bit. But her main sort of argument is that men and women are different, and that a lot of the sort of values and roles that women have played historically have been undervalued and displaced really, and that if we sort of embrace the strengths of being women and the connectedness and the links to nature that are inherent in women, then we are able to approach the world in a sort of more compassionate way, look to sort of healing things and to be connected to your place and want to make a difference more than if we sort of try and ignore those and we go for the more sort of masculine route that has traditionally been the one that we've gone down, about dominating nature, about like business can only be done if you're the aggressive, assertive one rather than someone looking to work as a whole and team-like. Now, some people may or may not agree with whether some of these traits are inherently feminine, or whether they're just sort of the cultural view of women. But throughout history, women have generally been very, very connected with nature, with the cycles of the seasons, because of the fact that we give birth and we can create life in that particular way. I thought her arguments I found very interesting, even if the reasons for enjoying those arguments were probably different from the reasons that she came to them, because I am very, very passionate about the environment, about living in a sustainable manner, about trying to make sure that my imprint is fairly low and that my choices do not affect other people and the environment too negatively. Really, in the lifestyle that any of us have in the Western world, it's very difficult to not impact people negatively, but those are something that I'm very passionate about, and her arguments about learning to be more connected to your local place and to the landscape around you makes you even more passionate about making changes, and that small changes made by people everywhere is really how big changes are going to happen, not through the traditional political routes which aren't really working and haven't worked for quite a long time. So I really enjoyed this book, and I thought it was something that I needed to read at the moment to sort of reconnect with the world around me. Having been very sick, I've not been outside as much, I haven't been just feeling very good, haven't been feeling very motivated, and certainly haven't been feeling very connected to people in the world around me. And I think I really needed this book at this point in time. As I said, I'm not 100% sure how many people this will really appeal to. If you are interested in the importance of place, in the sort of way that women in particular can connect to the environment and to make changes from a particularly feminine point of view, this book will probably be very appealing to you. And if you do identify as a Celtic woman, there will probably be a lot of information and mythology that is very interesting for you. If you think that all sounds a bit waffy, I don't think anything in this book is going to change that, so I would avoid it. But overall, it's a really interesting book. I haven't read anything like this before, and I don't know if I'll read very many like this again, but I think right now I needed to read this book, and if you think it would be something that would affect you, I really recommend it. Hopefully I'm back into the swing of making videos now, so you should see some more coming, and I will see you in a video soon. Bye!